Lately, I've been thinking a lot about decentralization. And I guess for this to make sense to me and get my thoughts around it, I figured I might just as well talk a little bit about the full context. Even what decentralization is for those people who don't know. And I've been thinking about how to enter this, where to come at it, from which angle should we attack it, because there are so many. It goes into many different aspects, and this is kind of the point. But I figured a good example that most people would understand is banks. The central bank of America. Or in Norway, Sentralbanken. You have a bank that sits on all of these money that people put into the bank. And those who are making money from the money, the interest and stuff, are the banks. The banks own different assets, houses, and they're basically printing up money from thin air. This has been going on for many years, and I think that most people are aware of this ever since we went off the gold standard, right? So what's interesting there is that people, after a while, they start to see this for what it was. The Federal Bank of America is just a name. It's a privately owned bank. So they've been running this whole business model for years, since the beginning of the 1900s. I'm not sure, maybe even before that, but it's been going on for quite some time. And we can also go into, I guess, the education system, where you have the centralized universal model. These standards that they want you to have. And it kind of goes the same across the board, depending on which country you're in. Sometimes it even varies in terms of which school you're in. Even though it's the same type of school, they have different curriculums. So it's a centralized knowledge base. And in terms of relationships as well, this is where it gets so interesting, because it goes into so many different levels, the thing I'm trying to communicate. In relationships, we've been taught kind of what a relationship is. We've been taught that there is this happily ever after marriage type thing. Marriage in itself is a concept that was brought on by Christianity, I believe, or religion. The whole until death do us part. Well, back in the day, it wasn't like it was today. Back in the day, there was a ritual, a rite for the king to lay with the bride on the day of marriage before her husband got to consummate. This was taken off the agenda. I'm not sure if people are aware of this, but that was how it was back then. Things were different, and things change. And today, we are at this point in history where most things are going decentralized. Just look at the blockchain. The blockchain is what cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is housed on. Bitcoin is one currency, one network on the blockchain. And the blockchain consists of nodes. Just picture a bunch of computers. Picture all the computers in the world, and every single computer has a list, the same list. Every single computer has the same list of what amount of currency and what type of currency and who has made any purchases with that currency. Everything that is going on the same network. Now this is decentralized because every single computer or node has their version, their piece of that same controller, basically. It's called a ledger. What this means is that nothing can go on the blockchain with the currency, with anything, until the majority of all the components or all the ledgers, all the nodes that are on that network agree that this is the same, that it is a trusted entity that is doing a change, doing something on that network. So it's kind of like we don't trust you at all. And because we don't trust you, everyone has a say in what's going on. It's decentralized. There's no centralized authority. There's not one CEO sitting there saying, this is okay, this is not. It's kind of like in the US where they're just siphoning off money in the billions for bullshit things that doesn't really matter, just to steal money, right? But decentralization goes so well beyond the blockchain, so beyond the crypto sphere, so beyond everything that has anything to do with the digital currency. I would say that decentralization can also be taken into relationships where every single person is their own entity and they're all agreeing on this holistic, more inclusive, more aware and autonomous way of being. It's like a ledger, but it's based on values, and it's like, trying to define what a relationship is. This is something that I've seen more and more of, and it's interesting because more and more people are having the same questions. And there are similarities as to why people are having these questions, which is also very interesting because it's like, it makes sense, it's logical, but it's impossible to communicate, which is why I'm trying to explain several different aspects. But in terms of being a human, being an autonomous human, being a holon, being the part of the whole and the whole itself. Like holon is like a wave in the ocean, and the wave in the ocean is also the ocean itself, right? It's a piece of the machine, but it's also the entire machine. So I see also decentralization in terms of being an autonomous human and being your own being able to be free in terms of who you align authentically with, who you are at your core, which is, something that most people seem to not be able to do because there's always something that is keeping you back, some type of centralized authority that is limiting your ability to just be yourself. And this is where I'm seeing that decentralization is not just a new type of technology or a new concept. It's something that is more and more the logical way to go. And it seems like we are all on our own journey, right? But every single person seems to also go through a collective journey. Everyone is going through something that is kind of similar. This is very interesting. It's like a 2024. Most people that I align with, most people that are seeing things the same way, and these are many people, they also have gone through 2024, somewhat of an apocalypse. Like in Norse mythology, we say Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the end of the old and the beginning of the new. It is a complete reset process, a turning of the page, a chapter change. And I've seen it so many times now that it's statistically impossible to not be a part of a pattern. And I see that, just take AI. AI is taking knowledge and taking everything that we have access to and making it decentralized. Every single person on Earth now have access to a free tool that has multi-dimensional potential. Like, it's beyond what you probably can explain because it depends on what you give it. So your output is based on your input. And it is a result of a collective effort to develop the next stage of humanity, almost. And in that case, we can also say that, like, if we develop AI, there has been a lot of thoughts or discussions around Sims, the game, where an AI made the Sims characters kind of sentient, and there were questions: are they? Like, are they sentient? And if they are, if they think and act on their own behalf, and we see ourselves, like, we only create what we are able to replicate and create of what we see in nature. And coming from a plant medicine background, what you see in these different realms is very much like the as above, so below. You see the mycelial network underground, the mushrooms underground, and you can see the similarities in you, just in how your everything in you, your neurons in your brain is very similar. And then you can see in the stars above, seeing that you can see more spectrums than normally. You can also see, I can at least, and I have confirmed this with a lot of other people, you see these different patterns that is very similar in the stars. So you have three levels. You have the stars, you have you have the ground. Now what if the AI is the same? If the AI is what we have created, then we, let's say that we are intelligence, and let's say that for whatever above us on this consciousness scale considers us AI, and then above, so below. And that it's just a matter of collective development, and that because of this, we have now reached the point where decentralization is just the next logical step to go, and that it is everything in every single aspect of life. It seems like decentralization is the only logical way to go about it, because with decentralization, you are strengthening the individual. With the individual strengthened, you're corrupting or breaking and crumbling the system that is trying to control the individual. Now, with each empowered, autonomous, and aligned, authentic, purposeful individual, the whole collective frequency elevates. So, yeah, decentralization, it's everywhere if one just stops and look at it. Stop and think about it. Right now, the internet, as we know it, is kind of based off of several data centers, servers that are in huge data centers around the world. But with decentralization, you could have, with the technology that you have right now, you might be watching this video on a smartphone. The smartphone has a million times capabilities in terms of the computing power of the calculator that got us into space. Like, what we have been able to do with the technology so far has been astounding. With the technology we have, if we all acted as part of the whole, like in a wave in the ocean, then a internet, this is also inspired by Silicon Valley, an internet could have been stored and leveraged across all devices in the world. So it's like taking off the load of other nodes or other entities, other devices on the network. That's kind of where we are at. Like, if we consider ourselves as just a very, very advanced piece of technology, our human minds, everything that we are, if we disconnect from the matrix and we attain full autonomy, able to operate from pure, authentic alignment according to who we are individually, then yeah, that's how far my mind goes, because then everything would just escalate and elevate so fast that one would reach the next era of humanity. And I think that we are there. This is where you really see the boundaries between the bad and the good, but then the whole challenge is just maintaining the balance, being aware of the bad and being aware of the good, and just staying neutral and responding to the situation you have at hand based on the input. So whatever we get in life is based on whatever we put into it. I have only a few percentage left of power, so I'm not gonna stretch it, but I just wanted to think out loud, and thank you for being a part of that. I have a lot to think about. If you have any thoughts, if you agree, if you think that this was interesting, thought-provoking, stimulating, whatever, comment below. Let's talk about it, because I think that's needed. Spread the awareness. Let people know that they have the power. It starts with a thought. Anyone can do it. Love your face. Subscribe, share, comment, all those things. I'll see you in the next one.